You've lived 1,000 lives. You've been a warrior, a farmer, an emperor, maybe even a cat lounging in the Egyptian sun. But right now, sitting here, you can't remember a single one of them. If reincarnation is real, why does coming back to life feel like hitting the reset button on everything you once were? This isn't just some random thought that pops up at 3 in the morning. It's one of the biggest puzzles that philosophers and spiritual thinkers have wrestled with for thousands of years. If our souls really do return to Earth over and over again, learning and growing with each lifetime, then why can't we remember any of it? What's the point of all that experience if it just gets wiped away like chalk on a blackboard? Today we're going to dig into what ancient wisdom, modern philosophy and even psychology have to say about this strange cosmic universal amnesia. Part 1. The reincarnation question nobody talks about. Think about it for a second. If you've lived before, you've probably made mistakes, big ones. Maybe you hurt people you loved. Maybe you were hurt yourself. You've experienced death, possibly in horrible ways, more times than you can count. And yet, every morning you wake up with zero memory of any of it. This creates a pretty massive problem for anyone who believes in reincarnation. After all, what's the point if we're supposed to learn from our past lives, but we can't remember them? Isn't that like going to school and having your memory erased after every single class? You'd never graduate. You'd just keep repeating the same lessons over and over, making the same mistakes, never really growing. But here's where it gets interesting. Most spiritual traditions that believe in reincarnation don't see this amnesia as a flaw in the system, they see it as the whole point. Part 2. A clean slate by design. In Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, amnesia isn't a bug, it's a feature. Imagine if you remembered being a king in your last life. How would you handle being born as a regular person now? You'd probably spend your whole life feeling bitter, comparing your current situation to past glory. Or maybe you were someone terrible in your previous life, and someone who did awful things. How could you move forward if you were constantly haunted by guilt and shame from actions you took in a body that isn't even yours anymore? The idea is that your soul needs a fresh start. Think of it like this. Every life is like playing a new level in a video game. Sure, you've built up skills from previous levels, but you need to approach each new challenge with fresh eyes. If you are too focused on how you beat the last level, you might miss what this level is trying to teach you. Many Eastern traditions teach that even though your conscious mind forgets, your soul doesn't. The lessons, the growth, the wisdom you gained are all still there, just buried deeper. They call these buried impressions samskaras in Sanskrit. It's like how you might not remember learning to walk, but your body sure knows how to do it. Your soul carries forward the important stuff, even if your brain doesn't have the specific memories filed away. Part 3. The karma connection. Here's where karma enters the picture, and no, karma isn't just about getting what you deserve. In Hindu philosophy, karma is more like a spiritual law of cause and effect. Your actions in past lives shape the circumstances of your current one. But here's the twist, you don't need to remember what you did to experience the effects. Think of karma like inheriting money from a relative you never met. You don't remember them, you don't know what they did to earn that money, but it still affects your life right now. This amnesia actually helps here. If you remembered every good deed and every mistake from past lives, you might become obsessed with keeping score. You'd spend all your time dwelling on the past instead of making better choices in the present. The whole point, according to these traditions, is to act righteously now, not to worry about what happened before. Part 4. A mercy, not a curse. But there's an even deeper, more emotionally resonant reason given for the amnesia, one that appeals to a primal human need for peace, protection from trauma. Some spiritual teachers talk about amnesia as a gift from a merciful universe. And when you really think about it, that makes sense. Imagine remembering every death you've ever experienced. The pain, the fear, the sadness of leaving loved ones behind. Not just once, but dozens or hundreds of times. Imagine carrying the grief of losing children in one life, parents in another, partners in yet another. The human mind would crack under that weight. Or consider past life relationships. What if the person who's your mother now was your enemy in a previous life? What if your best friend once betrayed you centuries ago? Without amnesia, we'd bring all that old baggage into every new relationship. We'd never be able to form genuine, fresh connections. We'd be trapped in patterns that have nothing to do with who we are now. This amnesia lets us focus on the people in front of us, in this life, without the clutter of ancient grudges or complicated histories. It's like moving to a new city where nobody knows your past. You get to be whoever you want to be, not whoever you used to be. Part 5. The brain versus the soul. Here's a more practical explanation that blends spiritual and physical ideas. Some philosophers and spiritual thinkers suggest that memory is actually stored in the brain, not in the soul. The brain holds networks of neurons, chemical pathways, and electrical impulses. When your brain dies, it takes all those specific memories with it. The soul or consciousness continues, but it's separate from the physical storage device. It's kind of like how you might learn a skill on one computer, but when you get a new computer, you don't automatically have access to all the old files. You still have the skill, the knowledge of how things work, but not the specific documents and details. The soul carries forward the essence of what you learned, the growth you achieved, but not the play-by-play memories of everyday events. Some traditions even talk about the trauma of birth itself. They say that being born, going from a spiritual realm into a physical body, is such a shock to the system that it erases most of what came before. It's like falling down a flight of stairs and getting a momentary concussion on the way in. Birth might be the ultimate bump to the head. Part 6. Who are you really? Now we get into some mind-bending philosophy. If you don't remember your past lives, are you really the same person who lived them? This connects to an old thought experiment called the Ship of Theseus paradox, created by the ancient Greek philosopher Plutarch. The paradox says if you replace every single plank of wood on a ship, one by one until none of the original wood remains, is it still the same ship? Some philosophers argue that without memories, emotions, or personality traits connecting you to a past life, you're not really the same person at all. You're more like a new person built around the same soul. The soul might be the only thread connecting all these different lives, but each life is its own unique individual. Certain Buddhist teachings take this even further. They suggest there isn't really a permanent, unchanging soul bouncing from body to body like a tennis ball. Instead, consciousness is more like a river. The water that flows past you now isn't the same water that flowed past a minute ago, but it's still the same river. Consciousness flows from one life to the next, constantly changing, constantly moving. Amnesia isn't a problem to solve, it's just the nature of how consciousness works. Part 7. The dream analogy. Here's an analogy that might help this all click. Think of each human life as a dream. While you're in the dream, it feels completely real. The joy, the fear, the love, it's all consuming, you're fully immersed. You have emotions, relationships, challenges. But when you wake up, those vivid details start to fade. You might remember the general feeling or a few key moments, but most of it slips away. Some spiritual traditions suggest that the spiritual life between human lives is like being awake. In that state, you can access the memories of all your dreams or your past lives. But when you're born again, when you enter a new dream, those memories fade into the background. They're still there somewhere, just not accessible to your conscious mind while you're busy living this particular dream. Part 8. The hidden access door. Not everyone agrees that the amnesia is absolute, though. There are stories from many cultures of children who spontaneously recall past lives with shocking detail, and those details are later verified. Various spiritual practices are said to offer glimpses into past lives. Deep meditation, certain types of therapy like past life regression hypnosis, and intense spiritual training are all said to potentially crack open that door to hidden memories. Some people report vivid recollections of past lives during these experiences. Whether these are actual memories or imagination is hotly debated, but the belief exists across many cultures that the information isn't completely gone, it's just hidden behind a veil. Some New Age spiritual teachings talk about this veil of forgetting that drops over us at birth. They suggest that certain advanced souls, like spiritual teachers who choose to come back to help humanity, might not be fully subject to this veil. These individuals might retain more awareness of their true nature and past experiences. Part 9. The bigger picture. So, what's the answer? Why do we forget? The truth is that it depends on who you ask. But most traditions that believe in reincarnation see the amnesia as essential, not accidental. Whether it's to give you a clean slate for learning, to protect you from overwhelming trauma, to keep you focused on the present moment, or simply because memory is tied to the physical brain that dies with each body, the forgetting serves a purpose. The cosmic riddle is solved not by remembering the past, but by understanding that the goal of the soul is not to recall who it was, but to become who it must be. Amnesia forces us to live in the now. It makes you take this life seriously, to treat it as precious and unique. Because as far as your conscious mind knows, it's the only one you've got. Maybe that's the ultimate lesson. Maybe we forget our past lives so we can fully show up for this one. Stop looking in the rearview mirror and learn what we need to learn without the weight of everything that came before, holding us back. And maybe, just maybe, at some point when this dream finally ends and we wake up again, we'll remember everything and then understand why we had to forget in the first place.